Hello and welcome to another episode of the BashTalk podcast. And I'm here with a very special guest, as I always introduce. And his name is Amir, and he's from the local Nelson area. And Amir, if I can ask you to introduce yourself,
Yep,
please.
yep. Assalamu alaikum, everybody. My name is Amir Saeed. I've lived in Nelson all my life, and I work at Burnley College.
Thank you, Amir. Now, Amir, I'm going to be speaking to you about quite a varying range of topics today. Um, some of those are obviously, I just want to let the viewers know in advance, some of these are quite emotional topics and they do involve aspects of bereavement. And I just kind of give you an early heads up just in case that is something that's a bit sensitive to you. And also, obviously, we're going to talk about your life in generals.
Yeah,
Yeah. So,
yeah.
you know, just with as with anything in life, there's ups and downs. So, start us off, Amr. So, you born and bred in Nelson, yeah?
Yeah, no.
Ah,
No. So I was born in Pakistan.
okay.
So my family came here when I was probably about 6 years old.
Oh, sure. Okay.
And my brother was probably 11, maybe. And then we came over with my uncle and his children as well.
Okay.
We ended up moving to Albert Street and then to Mosley Street. So every street, if you can say that. So we lived in.
Okay.
So I'm from every street originally.
So, you're part of the original generation of Every Streeters, aren't you?
Original
Yeah.
generation. Yes, yes.
I'm not going to ask you to state your age just in case someone tries to
Yeah,
get your details or anything
yeah,
like
yeah.
that.
No, I'm
But yeah,
29.
you are in that. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So you are in that original generation.
Yeah,
And so have you been based in Nelson throughout your whole life then, more
yeah,
or less?
yeah. So I've lived in Nelson all my life. Currently in on my present address on Manchester Road. We've been here for nearly probably 30 years. So yeah, based around Nelson. I have wanted to move once, and then my dad put me in my place and said, "Stay here."
Were you getting that kind of itchy feet feeling when I remember there was a point where I think I would have been about high school time. There was like a whole lot of guys your generation that were like, "Oh, I want to go to Manchester,"
Yeah,
and
yeah,
everyone just wanted to go to the city.
No, we didn't even want to go to Manchester. I think we just want to go to Readley or somewhere, you
Get out of
with a garden. But Alhamdulillah, you know what? Once you come to Nelson, once you come off the M65 and you turn towards Nelson, Alhamdulillah, this is my home,
Yeah.
it's where I feel at home.
Okay. And so going through the kind of education system, so primary school, Lumbershire?
Yeah, yeah. Primary school at Lomisher County Junior School. I was there. I remember that was my first ever class. Whitefield Junior School first on every street.
Yeah.
Yeah, Whitefield. And then down to Lomisher. And then I went to this grammar school called Edge End High School. So,
Yes.
Alhamdulillah, that was where, I had some of the best years of my life. I met some amazing people who, some of them I'm still in touch with. One or two of the teachers I'm still in touch with.
Oh, wow.
Edge End probably gave me a bit of my sort of steely determination that I have.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't give me many GCSEs, but it gave me that.
So when you came out of high school,
Yeah.
at that time, just in general, so not just like in Nelson, but in general, there wasn't much in terms of kind of career guidance or anything like that, was there?
No, no, no. The career guidance that we had was you're either going to be a doctor, or you're going to be an engineer, or you're going to come and work at the shop. So that was
Okay.
our career guidance we had. So, not like now.
Okay.
There wasn't such a thing as the internet.
So was it just a case of, right, you thought, if I'm not going to go work in shop, I'm going to have to go college?
Yeah, I went to. I should have gone to Nelson Corn College,
Okay.
but through the wisdom, of my family, alhamdulillah, I went to Habagam sixth form.
Okay.
Worst 2 years of my life. I hated it. All my friends were in at Nelson, and I went to Habagam. Spent a couple of years doing a BTEC in business, which I actually really hated.
Mm-hmm.
But I passed and got it, and that was it. And then decided I just wanted to work. So
Okay.
I went to work.
So at that point, you were just basically just saying, right, okay, I've done my BTEC and I'm just gonna go straight into some kind of work. What kind of work were you doing then?
Yeah, so I mean, some of the viewers will probably know my family and I, we had shops. You know, my father was one of the original. Him and his brother, my uncle, were one of the original shopkeepers at Nelson on Albert Street, on the corner of, sorry, on Stanley Street,
Down the street,
on
yeah.
the corner of every street. We had that shop.
Oh,
It was a meat shop,
Yeah, yeah.
so we had that for about 12 years. And then my father and my uncle branched out into Duke Bar, and we bought a spa there. And
Okay.
then we bought another one on St Matthew Street, and then we bought another one in Whalley, near in Clitheroe.
Okay.
So yeah, so I worked in the one in Whalley,
Okay.
in the Ribble Valley.
And so how did you find it? Because bear in mind, obviously, at that time, it was a case of you spent pretty much all your life kind of in BB, this area here, and you've gone out to Whalley.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you want to share some experiences about that?
Yeah, I mean, it's the classic sitcom, innit? Like the only Asian in the village. You know, I was literally the only Asian in the village. Our family was one of the first Asian families into Whalley. You know, we lived on Mitten Road. We had a shop there. And, you know, for an 8-year-old, or, sorry, when we bought it, I must have been I was about 10 when we bought it, you know, and I used to go out the weekends and my dad was first there. And then when I took over, it was weird, you know. There was no Asian shops. There was nobody, you know. And people would actually come into my shop and be like struck by who's this guy, you know. But you know, I have to say, Bash, you know, that I stayed at my shop for 10 years. You know, I was 28 when I left that shop. 29. You know, 11 years I stayed there. My formative years of my life was spent in Whalley. And the people there treated me so well. You know, they were so kind to me. They were so kind to my family. They allowed me to do whatever I wanted. You know, they didn't put any stops on me or anything.
Yeah.
Honestly, I actually have some really, really good friends from Whalley. You know, I remember a story when I got married in 2000, and no, my wife will kill me now, 2002, yeah, or one.
Okay.
And we had a coach load of people from Whalley come to my wedding in Burnley.
Oh.
You know, so you can imagine 2,000 Asian people sat there in Burnley, and the doors have opened to the hall, and there's 60 white faces, and they were all like, "What are you doing here?" And they said, "Oh, we come to see Amir's wedding." And if you look at my wedding film, you'll see dotted around these white faces, and I loved it. You know, I loved the fact that these customers made the effort to come. You know, and some of the customers still remember that. You know, they taught me a lot. In particular, I had one really good friend of mine, you know, who passed away about 9 years ago. Yeah, John Stewart Chadwick, he was called Mr. Chadwick. And I speak about him quite often to a lot of my friends, and I speak to my family as well, that he was, you know, Mr. Chadwick was one of my true friends. You know, that he was my friend just for the sake of being friends. You know, and if you ever get a friendship like that, where it's just so pure, it's so, you know, he didn't want anything off me. You know, he just wanted me to do well. You know, he was a retired Queen's Counsellor. You know, he was a retired barrister. He was a retired historian, antiquarian historian. You know, he could read a building just by looking at it and tell you the age of the building. He did photography. You know, he did all the processes. You know, for my 21st birthday, he gave me a photo processing kit. You know, he made a darkroom in my cellar next door, and my dad went mental and said, "What the heck is he doing?" And John was like, "You know, let this boy try." And I did photography, so I had all the chemicals and the fluids, and you know, and he made the darkroom for me. And John was like, he made a lot of who I am is because of Mr. Chadwick. You know, a lot of my sort of my common sense, if you will, is
Yeah.
from that friendship I had with him. I'll give you an example. Is John used to come in and get Shakespeare, so he'd give me a book and himself a book, and he'd walk around the shop, cigarette in his hand, because he was the only one who was allowed to smoke in my shop. I wouldn't dare say to him, John, you can't smoke.
Yeah.
And he'd read Shakespeare, and I used to be like, John, what are you reading? This is rubbish. I just want to read my newspapers and things. I wasn't interested.
Yeah.
And he said to me, read it. Read it and you'll understand. And I used to be like, all right, Mr. C. And I don't know. The first one we read was Julius Caesar. And it was probably near the end of Julius Caesar that something clicked, that John would be reading it. And he had a stutter as well. He had a stammer. And he'd be reading it, and I'd just be like following it. And he'd stop every so often and say, read the next line, just to make sure that I was reading it,
Yeah.
And my dad would go mental because I wasn't serving customers. I was just be reading Shakespeare. But something clicked in me that this is amazing. And my love for literature and my love for everything about literature stemmed from Mr. Chadwick. So then we read all of Shakespeare's novels.
Right.
And then I just forget now, but we went down to where Shakespeare was born at the Globe Theatre, and we went and saw the plays, and he got me interested in theatre. He got me interested in literature itself, and then we read Rudyard Kipling, and then he gave me a poem called If. And he said that if you can walk with kings, keep your common touch. And if you can fill the unforgiving minute with 60 seconds worth of distance run. And if you can give, but not count the cost of giving. And it goes like that.
Yeah.
And there's a line in there, Bash, that I use all the time when it says that if you can hold on when there's nothing left inside you, except for the sheer will that says hold on. And that line I use all the time. And John gave me 3 poems by Rudyard Kipling. If, another one called The Answer, and the other one called The Thousandth Man. And The Thousandth Man, it's really poignant to me because it goes like 999 men will try and find you closer than the other, but the 1,000th man will find you closer than any brother. And it goes on about 999 men will see what the world sees in you, but the 1,000th man will see what's inside you. And it goes on, and at the end it says 999 men will follow you to the foot of the gallows, but the 1,000th man will follow you to the foot and beyond. The gallows is where your head gets chopped off. And he says, the 1,000th man will follow you after that even. And he used to say to me, I am your 1,000th man. And, I remember when my brother passed away, and it was John. And I remember there was 2 people that I rang. In 2003, on the 8th of October, Kizza passed away, and my brother was here, and he was 36. And he died in London. And I remember it was my sister I rang, and then I rang Mr. Chadwick. And honestly, and you can imagine, Bash, what it's like in our houses when there's a young death, or there's hundreds of people here. There was hundreds of people here. And he came up these stairs in his pinstripe suit, in his cane. He had white hair. He was very distinguished English, And I was sat next to my mum, and I remember, and he picked me up from my shoulder. And he lifted me up and he said, I am your 1,000th man, and I will never leave your side. Until I die, I will never leave your side. And every Friday, after that, he used to drive from Whalley, and he would come and sit with me and talk to me about my week. I'd left the shop by then. I'd started working at Nelson Corn College. And he would talk to me about my work. And I never ever believed that I could have the career after my shop that I have had. And yet Mr. Chadwick always believed I was more than the shop. Mr. Chadwick always felt that I could be something more.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And honestly, and it's really weird, like I know Nelson really well, and I love Nelson, and I'm quite well known, I would say, in Nelson. But I'm quite a shy and family guy, do you know what I mean? Like, I always believe that less is more. Yeah. I'm not a social media guy. I'm not into socialites or anything like that. And it was John who taught me that less is more, and I used to love sitting with Mr. C. I used to call him Mr. C, and I used to love sitting with him here, just like this. and we'd be talking, and I'd say, John, what do you think of this? What do you think of that? And he'd tell me, and he'd say, relax yourself, And he used to say, like wisdom, Bash, he'd say things like, fortune will knock on your door once in your life. The key is to make sure you're at home. And he'd say things like that, and I'd be like, I don't know what you're talking about, Mr. C, but it was true.
But it's that wisdom, because
that wisdom.
And I think, like, especially with some of the younger lot, like, if they're hearing some of the phrases and some of the things you're mentioning, it might not click straight away.
One of the things, Bash, that I do here at Nelson, I want to, John used to say to me, you need to leave a footprint. You need to leave a footprint here, so that when you've passed away, people can remember you and say that he was he was somebody. Do you get me? And that's what I try and do here in Nelson, is I try and live my life in the sense of, I want to be a role model to young people and make them aspire to be something.
That's good.
And Mr. Chadwick was my sort of hero, if you will.
I guess it kind of pushes the importance of having good role models as well.
100%. That's one of the things that we don't have, Bash. I'm going to carry on with the tea, if that's okay. Yeah. That's something that we don't have. We think we've got good role models.
Yeah.
If they've got a fancy car. We think we've got good role models if we go to Dubai. Yeah. We think we've got good role models if, bro, we know we're 10 man deep. We've got a firm. We've got this. We're not role models like that.
Yeah.
Role models are people who can inspire you to be more. If you've got a true friend, he will say to you, stop. Don't do that. You know what I mean? Go sit at home with your family, your mum and dad.
Yeah.
Do you get me? We don't have that. Our role models are different.
Yeah.
You know?
I think one of the other things with the type of role models that we have is that I think a lot of it is people tend to look towards wealth rather than any kind of decent aspirational.
Take sugar.
Yeah, why not? Why not?
Why not? Yeah, our role models are different. My brother was my role model, Bash. My brother was he used to inspire me. At 36, he was the youngest vice principal in the country. At 36-year-old, Hizr was he had a PhD in international education, and he was a go-getter. I was sat at the shop, I was working and things. Hizr was at Newcastle University. Then he went around the world. He worked in Austria. He worked in Australia. He went to Egypt. He did this. He did that. He did his masters in quality management, TQM, total quality management. And I used to think, what the heck is he doing all this for? Well, he just work at the shop. He wanted more than that. He worked at Nelson Cone College. Then he worked at Hopwood Hall. Then he worked at Salford. From Nelson Cone College, where he was just a business studies teacher, in 7 years he became the vice principal at Hammersmith and West London College. 27,000 students at Hammersmith and West London. He died playing badminton on the 8th of October. But he was Hizr was my, he wasn't only my brother, he was my best friend.
So was he older?
Yeah, he was older than me. He was 7 years older than me.
7 years older than you.
So Hizr was like 7 years older than me. But in everything that we did, he was.
Still making?
Yeah, we just.
It's all right. Sometimes you get visitors. It's all right.
Look at these. He's always doing this. Yes, it's live.
It's all right. No, it's fine, because to be honest, there's been a good few times where whenever I've done a podcast, there's been people coming through or anything like that. But so your brother passed away, and he was in the middle of a game of badminton. And do you have a definitive?
Yeah, he died of an ischemic heart disease. Okay. An ischemic heart disease is where one of your arteries gets blocked. To be honest with you, it's still quite hard for me to talk about Hizr, because he wasn't just my brother, Bash. He wasn't just my best friend. He was my everything. I was his shadow. Do you get me? He was like, I used to walk in his shadow, and I think the biggest person to say that to me was my mum. My mum would see me and my brother, and she'd be like, "Wow, you know, like Kizza was like everything that he did. He used to say to me, "Amir, if you want to do something, do it to the excellence. Don't do it half-hearted." You know, Kizza was a semi-professional cricketer. You know, he could have been a professional badminton player. He used to be really good at squash. You know, he was an amazing athlete. You know, he used to, you know, he became a vice principal at 36. You know, he had his own quality management consultancy firm that was doing so well. You know, and yet still on Saturday, he would come to the shop and give me a day off. Do you know what I mean? And pack potatoes for me and mop the floor and clean and give me a list of jobs to do for the whole week. Do you know what I mean? Why? Because my dad would always make us put our feet on the ground. You know, there was five of us. There was me and my brother and my three uncles' boys. You know, we all lived together. You know, and we all have really level-headed, feet on the ground kind of attitude. You know, it's not the clothes that you wear. It's not the car that you drive or the house that you live in. It's in your heart.
Yeah.
It's the size of your heart that matters. You know, and Kiz's heart was bigger than anybody's. You know, if you can give but don't count the cost of giving. You know, that's my family motto. You know, and when he died, it was like a part of me died. You know, it's like a part of me switched off, and it's hard, Bash. You know, you kind of, I sort of had my nephews and my niece to sort of fall back on and do for them.
Yeah.
So, and I did, you know, for 20 years. You know, I it's like, people always ask you, like, what's it like? And I always think, the analogy I give them, it's really weird. It's like, our ship was going this way. You know, we were sailing on the ship, and all of a sudden, the guy who was steering the ship just fell overboard, and the ship going this way now. You know, and my dad said to me, "You come up here and steer the ship now." And so I was steering the ship, and I'm looking behind, thinking, "Hey, we were going that way."
Yeah.
You know, now our life has gone this way, and it's like, no, people already know about my family, so it's not something new to anybody, you know. But it's like we've come full circle. When in January of last year, you know, on the 4th of January, my son, my nephew Nick passed away, Nagash, and he died of a very similar genetic disease, if you will. And it's like we've become full circle. You know, our ship's turned another way.
Yeah.
But Alhamdulillah, Bash, for whatever Allah wills, we, you know, John used to always say to me, it's not why me. I always say try me. You know, and then you have to keep going. You have to keep going. But death is going to come to all of us.
Yeah.
You know, we just don't know when and we just don't know how, but it's going to come to everybody, and it's how you deal with it. You know, when, like I said to you, when my brother passed away, a part of me stopped. You know, and when Nick passed away, it's like half of me has stopped. You know, my heart is like in half, but that other half that's beating, it has to still beat. You know, because I have my dad and I have my wife and I have my kids and I have my other son and Harris and I have this. So, Alhamdulillah, you know, whatever Allah wills, Alhamdulillah.
I think because some of my viewers are not Muslim, and occasionally when the topic of like life and death comes up, I've had, you know, some feedback where people are kind of thinking how whenever we talk about death, we seem to be so kind of blasé. We almost not chilled out about it, but our approach is some people they can't get their head around that. And then when I'm trying to explain to them, is that look, from a religious perspective, I mean, we literally just see this as like a pass through.
This is a
We're
journey.
only concerned with the afterlife.
This is a journey, and it's hard, you know. And I understand it. And I have friends of mine who are non-Muslim and who came to see me, and they were like, you know, how do you cope? You know, and I said to them that, you know, after my mom, first Mr. Chadwick died, and then my brother passed away. No, my brother passed away, then Mr. Chadwick passed away, then my mom passed away, you know, and then Nick passed. And I always say that I used to always think, how do I cope? How do I cope? And then I realized that there's actually people out there now, right now, this very minute, who are so much worse off than me.
Oh, man,
you know, who are so much worse off than me. You know, so whatever Allah it tests me with, alhamdulillah.
No, it's good. I mean, I think everyone kind of copes and grieves in their own way, and I think one thing that we do find strength in is our faith.
Yeah.
So, our
You
iman.
know, it's in our iman, in the 100% belief that I will see them again.
Mm.
You know, 100% belief that I'm going to sit with my granddad one day and he's going to say to me, he was proud of me.
Mm.
You know, I'm going to sit with my mum and she's going to say that, you know, the way you brought your children up, the way you became the man that you have become, I hope that, you know, I'm proud of you. And I'm going to play badminton one day with Kiz again and hopefully try and beat him, which I never did, by the way.
Yeah.
You know, which riles me as well. But yeah, and then Bash, like I say, going from Wally, I moved to college. You know, that was a complete career change. I decided to become a teaching assistant.
Was there any particular subject you specialized in, or?
It was the irony of it is that honestly, and this is what I hope the viewers can see, that you know it was the BTEC business that I did that sort of pushed me into doing business studies. You know,
Okay.
so then I did a foundation degree in sort of what did I foundation degree in leadership and management.
Okay.
Then I did a top-up degree. Then I did my PGCE. You know,
Because at this point, you're kind of driven a bit more, aren't you now?
yeah. At this point, I was 30. You know, so I did all this when I was 30, 29, 30, and my brother had passed away, so I'd had all this grief, but I knew that necessity is the mother of all invention. That I needed to do this. You know, I needed to get into a career which allowed me the holidays and time to spend with my dad. You know, and they do say that if you can't do anything else, teach. But I hate that. You know, when my nephew Zoeb says that to me all the time. But the thing is, I did it because I wanted to spend time with my nephews. I wanted to spend time with my dad and my mum. I want to have that ability just to be 5 minutes away. I didn't want to be in the Ribble Valley anymore and driving back.
Because this is really, it's a bit of a strange perception, but I've noticed this mainly in the Asian community where people seem to think that if you haven't, say, got out of high school, gone to college, and then if there's even like a year or two's gap, there's like a just
Yeah,
go
yeah.
work now, just
Yeah.
go work
No,
now.
no,
Like
no.
it's never too late.
Education is like a lifelong journey. You're always learning, Bash. And this is what I say to people now. I've been in education now for nearly 18 years. And I always say, it's never too late. Never. And that's a reality. I was 30. You know, so obviously I've given my age away now that I'm 48, and I am still learning now. You know, I'm trying to get on to do my PhD now. You know, I want to do my PhD.
Inshallah.
And this is one of my sort of bucket lists and life ambitions to do my PhD just for myself. You know, Mr. Chadwick had one, my brother had one, I want to have one in the sense of I want to learn, and learning is something that you will never stop at. And be it in education, be it with your family, be it as a husband, be it as a father, be it as a friend, you will always learn. You know, you will always have lessons that you can pick up from. The key is to make sure you pick things up, and not walk through this life blind. Like just not listening to people or not actually accepting other people's opinions.
Yeah, I think that's one of the problems because, like, if I was to, well, it's that same thing, isn't it? Where if you always look at your younger self and you think, well, if only I'd listened, if only I'd
Absolutely.
listened.
Yeah.
Whereas once you're in the position and you've got someone older, like giving you that lecture, like, young lad, there's going to come a time and this is going to happen. And you think,
Do you not think that it's, people used to say, oh, it's never too late. I used to say, oh, never too late, I'm 30. What do you mean it's never too late? But it's so true that, I have people, and it's weird because we've come on to this topic that the next thing that I want to do is, we haven't talked about the NK, so we'll talk about.
We can go on to that, yeah.
Yeah. So, and then we'll come back to this elevate that I'm going to set up. So, after Nick, my nephew, passed away, his grief for this town was immense. Nick had so many friends that I didn't even know existed. Nick had so many people that he had touched with his, honestly, Bash, and I'm not just saying this because he was my son or he was, Nick was kind, he was honestly a gentle soul. He was a man's man. He was with who he was with. He was very loyal to his friends. He was very loyal to his family. He was very loyal to his granddad. He was loyal to his brother. He was loyal to me, and he loved Nelson. I used to say to him, "Yard, moved him." I took him to uni. He lasted about 3 months. Came back, judge, not for me.
Not for me.
I
Yeah.
love being here. He used to work from home.
Yeah.
He used to, ever since my mum passed away, Nick slept in the same room as his granddad, and I used to say to him that they'd like padded up together, they're like cellmates, roommates. And, they'd sit there on their beds and they'd like put the world to rights, granddad and grandson smoking away, just talking. And I used to go in sometimes and I'd be like, "What are you doing? It's 3 a.m. And my dad would say, "You go, we're talking," and that's what he was like. He loved that, and he loved being there, with his family and things, and when he died, it really knocked our family sideways, and even now we're still recovering. But one of the things that we managed to do, alhamdulillah, through this is the NK Foundation. The NK Foundation was set up. It's weird how after he died, we went through his sort of laptop a bit, and he had these designs on his computer called the NK. So that design is his.
Wow.
He designed it himself. So we called it the NK Foundation, but the NK sign, it was his already. He'd actually got it all done before he passed away.
MashaAllah.
So we just carried on his legacy of what work that he was doing. We've had the NK Foundation now for just a year. And basically what it is, it's about giving hope to those who don't have any hope left. Because in January, I was hopeless. I didn't have any hope left. I never actually thought that I would be back in any form at all. To say, Bash, that I was devastated, or to say that my life was... I just couldn't understand it, that it happened to me again.
Again, yeah.
That 20 years ago, I thought I'd done my time, and then it's happened to me again. And I couldn't, when his had passed away, we had no foundation, we had nothing, we couldn't do anything. When Gash has passed away, we've set this foundation up, and, alhamdulillah, we have helped and touched over 13,000 people.
MashaAllah.
And that's a fact. We've helped nearly over 13,000 people through the foundation. Be it by sitting there talking to them, be it that helping them with a well, be it by providing them with a pushchair, be it by being stood on the curry on the street, giving out free food, be it organising football tournaments, be it by car washes, giving out cakes. Anything that we could do, we have done. We affiliated with Pendleside Hospice.
Okay.
Pendleside Hospice is very dear to me. I'm one of the directors there.
No, MashaAllah.
So I'm a director of Pendleside Hospice. So I know exactly how much they require to run every year. And Pendleside Hospice, we're very lucky in this area to have such an amazing facility on our doorstep. So the NK Foundation is affiliated with Pendleside Hospice, and we help run events. We did the Memory on the Lakes in the summer. We did the iftar last year. We're going to do another iftar this year. And it's not about the pigments in my skin, Bash, that make me. It's not the God that I bow down to that make. It's not anything like that. It's inside you. Do you understand? It's inside who you are that makes you.
Yeah.
This doesn't stop me. The fact that I'm a slight tan colour doesn't stop me doing anything. Do you understand?
Agreed.
And people sometimes stop themselves because of the I can't. Don't let this hinder you. Don't let your anything hinder you. Go through it. The foundation is for everybody. Yeah, it's for everybody. We have Asian people, white people, Chinese people, any race, any religion can join the foundation. If you need any help, we can help you. And that's what the foundation is about. We're not there just for a small part of the community. It's a foundation for all the community. And you know what, alhamdulillah, this year we've got plans to do even bigger things. So that the foundation has come, and the foundation is about the kids in Nelson, the guys and the boys and girls, male and females in Nelson, Burnley and Pendle, who have really come together and said that we want to set up a foundation in his memory that will keep us together. And through the excuse of the foundation, we do cricket every Wednesday at Nelson Corn College. Sometimes we have 50 lads turn up.
That's good.
Just to play cricket.
Well, maybe indoor with the wind ball.
Cricket, yeah, with the wind ball, and it gets quite serious sometimes,
Yeah.
I think they've relegated me to be the umpire from now on. They said, Chachu, you can't play. But that, again, is something that I love. The fact that they come together, it galvanizes you. So, long may it continue, Bash.
No, inshallah, I hope it does. I hope it does. I mean, I've seen some of the stuff that guys post on social media. You guys are quite active. There's a lot going on. So keep it up, man.
Yeah, definitely.
I think, even Nelson in general, for the size of the community that we have, the amount of charity that comes out is amazing.
Nelson is one of the most amazing towns in England, and it upsets me and it saddens me sometimes. People knock Nelson sometimes from, if you're not here, if you don't live in these towns or if you don't live in these boroughs, people will knock this area as, well, you don't want to live in Nelson, you don't want to live in Burnley. You know what? You want to come and actually live here, live in Nelson, Burnley, in Accrington, in place, and you will have an amazing feeling of camaraderie, coming together.
Yeah.
Honestly, when Nick passed away, it was my community that saved me. It was the community that saved my dad 20 years ago. Yeah. It was the community that gave me the belief that we can do things. My community at Nelson, when Nick passed away, slept here for 2 weeks. They didn't leave my house. They slept here on the floor with me because they didn't want to leave us alone, because they were so entrenched in our grief. So they were so part of it. And that you go to London, you never get that. You go to Manchester, they don't know your neighbours. And so it upsets me when people knock towns like this. Nelson has got an outstanding college at Nelson Corn College, an outstanding college at Burnley College, an outstanding college at Accrington, an outstanding college at Blackburn. This small area,
Yeah.
We've got amazing hospitals. We've got a Premier League football team, just on our doorstep.
You know what? On top of the hospital, it's going to sound really random, but the fact that we've actually got a newborn unit in Burnley,
it's
amazing.
It's amazing. And we've got Pendleside Hospice.
Yeah.
We've got the countryside, Ribble Valley, 15 minutes that way. Yeah. Manchester's 25 minutes. And I know this is not an advert for, I'm not supposed to be plugging
Nelson
Tourism, but it upsets me, when people come and do YouTube videos of Nelson and show how bad it is and this and that.
You know what?
It really saddens me.
I think it's part of a cultural shift as well, because everything is only surface and skin deep. It's literally
That's right.
They only care about how it looks. They'll see houses, some old terraced houses.
Yeah.
Maybe they haven't been sandblasted or made to look fresh.
How can you live in that and live
But they want the warmth in the house.
But there's history. Bash, there's history in them houses.
Yeah.
There's history in these streets. I can guarantee you, if a stranger came to these streets and said, I need some help, I am an et, can you help me? Families would take them in and feed them.
Yeah, they would.
They'd feed them. And that's a quality that you don't get in the cities.
Yeah, absolutely.
So alhamdulillah, where we are, and I always say we should be proud of that.
Yeah. I think obviously we don't want to completely knock the cities. I'm sure there's,
No, of course
there's various people, but
it's different. It's a different. I've lived in London, Bash. I've lived in London. I know the cities. I lived in Dubai for 6 years. So after Nelson Corn College, I went. I had the opportunity, and I took my family, my wife and my kids, and we went to Dubai. Both my wife and I are teachers, so we moved to Dubai.
Sure.
And it helped our kids with their skin. My kids have got a skin issue, so it helped with that. So I know what it's like to live in cities, and I know what it's like to live in different countries. But it's weird, you come off the Emirates plane and you come back to Manchester Airport, and then you drive down the Emirates. And as soon as you see this Nelson sign,
Yeah,
you
welcome
just
to
think,
Nelson.
yeah, you're home now.
Yeah, yeah.
But because the thing is, you can go out and do whatever you want. You can go out anywhere and do whatever you want. But the people of this town, the people around this borough, they will help you in anything that you need.
Yeah,
If they've got a pound, the last pound they'll give it you. Because
yeah.
that's the kindness that they have. You look at the money that they raise for charity. It's phenomenal.
For such a, again, small community.
Yeah, yeah,
But the only thing I'm conscious of is obviously we are kind of extending the time a
yeah.
little bit. So you mentioned one more thing, elevate.
Yeah, yeah.
What's that?
So Elevate is something that we're going to do through the NK Foundation, Bash. And basically, what I need, and maybe a request to your viewers as well, is I'm looking for mentors to mentor local people. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to put a group of say 15 mentors to elevate young men and women in this community. So, for example, Bash, you are a mentor, and I can say to you, right, there's these three students, or they might not be students, 20-year-olds, 22-year-olds, 24, who need a mentor because they want to get into this kind of thing.
Yeah.
How do they do it? So, what I want to do is connect these mentees to a mentor, and then it's up to you. It's up to the mentees. It's up to the mentees, yeah, to connect with you and sit with you and work out a path of how you can help them.
Yeah.
We've got amazing professionals in this town.
Oh yeah.
We've got teachers, we've got lawyers, we've got doctors, professional athletes. We've got amazing people, and yet there's kids on these streets who are completely lost in what they're doing. With respect to Daisy Communication, they'll be working there for 10 years and they don't realise they've been there for 10 years. They've got a degree in business management, but they don't know why they've got a degree in business management. They're not married, but they don't know why they're not married yet. They're going to get an interview for a job, but they don't even know how to do an interview.
Yeah, yeah. You'd be surprised.
Everything matters, Bash. Mr. Chadwick used to say to me, everything matters. The way you walk, the way you talk, the way you dress, the way you think, the way you smile, the way you sit, the way you eat, the way you respond, the way you listen. Everything matters. And that's what I want to help in this community. I want to elevate our community up to excellence, and through the Elevate program, hopefully, inshallah, this is something that I want your help with, actually.
Yeah, yeah, no, I'll happily get involved. Not that I don't see myself at that kind of level where someone's going to look up to me, but
it's about being roles models, because there's so many amazing role models in this community, and I understand. I'm not, honestly, and you know this, that I'm not one of those big social media people. You and I have got a mutual friend who loves his social mentioning no names, Shaq. Yeah. But I'm not a social media person. Do you know what I mean? I believe less is more, and there's other people I think in this community who believe that as well.
Yeah.
But sometimes you have to step out, and you have to step up and help. So inshallah, this.
thinking summer.
Yeah. I'm to be honest with you, I'm thinking in February, March. I'm
Okay.
thinking of starting doing the Elevate program. So
I look forward to seeing it. I think for the people tuning in, you go out website, Instagram, Facebook, socials, they can contact or catch up in various places. So, but the only thing I'll probably say is obviously, I've really, really enjoyed the chat today because
Thank you.
normally what happens is a lot of the guests that I get on, it's people I already kind of know, or it's people that I've got like a good background on already. So I kind of cheat and I already know like what I'm going to talk about. Whereas with yourself, like I don't really know much about you already.
Yeah.
So it's been good.
I feel it's been quite sort of ad hoc, like we've just like chatted as though your two brothers sat here.
Yeah, I can promise you there was no script, nothing.
Nothing. And I, you know what? And I just wanted to thank you as well, for all the work that you do, Bash, and the way because I remember watching your podcast and thinking, this guy's, he's doing it, and alhamdulillah, and this is the kind of things that we need to inspire the new generation. So thank you for the opportunity.
Alhamdulillah, I just do the little bits I can. But just to round off, is there anything else that you want to kind of say, or anything that you want to say in closing, whether it's by yourself, whether your life or your charity or anything, just to kind of close off?
Yeah, I just want to say that, I hope that there's people out there who would like to join the foundation, the NK Foundation. I hope there's people out there who have ideas to, to help other people, through the foundation. And if you do come and join us, and personally, from a personal point of view, you know who I am. And if there's anything that I can help with, please let me know and I'll help. Jazakallah. Thank you, Bash.
Yeah, no problem. And yeah, I'll just round off from my side and just say I've took a big gamble with the audio equipment today, so I'm really, really hoping that the audio that you hear on your TV or your phone is clear.
Inshallah.
Inshallah it is. But yeah, over and out.
Thank you.